Hi, and welcome back to Story Time. We're reading through my book, Tale of Two Thieves, Death in a Lonely Field. We are in Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is called World Upside Down. If you haven't heard previous chapters, you can go back on YouTube to find them. I stood motionless in stunned silence. After a few moments, I finally found the courage to take a breath and to swallow deeply. My eyes focused on nothingness as my mind whirled, trying desperately to take hold of whatever lifeline it could grasp. I was in some serious trouble. Life as I knew it could be over. The message was from my associate. It was very short and to the point, delivered in a tone of dread and dismay. His short message informed me that we had been caught and that it was for our best interest that I gather up all the things that I had stolen and return them to the place where I had stolen them from. My associate lived in that city and he called me from there. What should I do? What should I do? Think! Think! I said to myself as I stood dumbfounded before my answer machine. I was suddenly gripped with panic. The cat was out of the bag. I was busted. Not by the police, not by people who actually followed rules of law, but instead by people much like myself, criminals who thrived on corrupt power and violence. Then, in that moment when I needed my wits most, when I needed to have a sharp mind to calculate and plan my next move, I made a further error. I pulled out my stash of drugs and got high. Soon, my emotions were like a broken dam, out of control. I ran around the house, gathering all the stolen goods and trying to gather my quickly disappearing sanity. I succeeded in the first and miserably failed in the latter. Fear began to grip me with the reality that something very horrible was coming. I was going to get the just deserts for all of my wicked ways. My greed had finally gotten the better of me. The reality gripped me that soon I might be breathing my last breaths. After many attempts, I finally got through to my associate. He didn't waste our time mincing words. He told me to meet him in a few hours and emphasized the point of making sure I brought everything that I had stolen. He told me that he would explain it all when we met in person, that he didn't want to talk on the phone just in case the police were tapping the lines. I hung up the phone, stoned, confused, and scared out of my wits. It was time to pay the piper. I loaded up my car, and for the second time, with the stolen goods and drugs, this time there was no gloating, no laughter, and no longer did the dollar signs fill my eyes, promising a sunny future. Now, thick, black storm clouds filled the sky, and the future looked bleak, foreboding, and very dark indeed. I had been driving on the highway for around 10 minutes when a new thought hit me. I may never see my mum again. My dad had died a year earlier, and now it was only Mum. I knew that my death would certainly put nails in my mum's early coffin. She was always warning me of my dangerous way of living, even though she had only seen but a tip of the iceberg. As these thoughts assaulted me, I spotted a rest area that had a payphone. I swerved the car off the road into the rest area. I needed to pass a message on just in case I happened to mysteriously disappear from off the face of the earth. For a few seconds, my mind flipped through the file of all the people I knew, systematically crossing off those who would not or could not accept the message I was about to give them. Suddenly, my mind fixed on a name and face. I would call my friend, whose business I had been taking over for the last few weeks, as he was home now. After a few rings, I heard my friend's voice. He sounded happy. I didn't have time for casual chit-chat. This was not a "how's the weather today" conversation. I told my friend what I had done. I told him I had to go and face the music. I told him that if I happened to die or went missing, to tell my mom I loved her and that it wasn't her fault. My friend tried to talk sense into me, telling me not to go. I cut him off short, told him to pass on my message, hung up the phone, and headed down the highway into bone-chilling uncertainty. And that is the end of chapter 5. Thank you for listening to my story. Next time, we'll be going into chapter 6. Have a good day.